Go ahead.
Uh, 7:30, going to call to order the July 21st, 2025 Harlan Township Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. And at this time, I'd like to have everyone stand and for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We do a roll call.
Cal Ferris.
Here.
Steve Eisenbrown.
Here.
Keith Campbell.
Here.
Bill Gallagher.
Here.
Amy Richardson.
Here.
Chris Bruni, not here, and Jim Steelsman.
Here.
For flexibility. I'll make a motion to accept the agenda with flexibility this evening.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion's passed. About the table of minutes.
I think we're just going to table. I'll move to table the minutes to later in the meeting tonight.
Second. I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Motion's passed. Table of minutes. Real quick before we have a hearing scheduled for about 5 minutes here. Is there any other new business for the Board of Zoning Appeals?
New applications, et cetera.
Well, we have our appeal hearing set for 7:35 and we'll wait a couple minutes till 7:35 to actually start that.
Want to zip through the minutes real quick?
No.
Yeah, I think everybody wants to wait on them. Yeah.
Motion to approve the agenda for the hearing. When we first start.
You don't have to formally have one, but we could.
I think we did. Let's just go through.
Roll into it. You know, a good time just to say, if you are making commentary tonight, please speak up as we have. Okay.
Make sure
you
that
got
guy has
it.
the podium to speak.
Yeah.
Give their name and address. Every time they get to the podium, just ask them again if they've been sworn in. That way, if they say yes, then it covers it.
Okay, on our June meeting, we had an appeal which we had recessed until this month, and that is here for the Neff property, which is HT BZA Appeals 25-01. And I'd have a motion to.
I will make a motion to reconvene that hearing.
Second.
Roll call, all in favor?
Aye. Roll call.
Well,
I do roll call.
let's do roll call. Yeah.
Cal Ferris.
Aye.
Steve Eisenbrown.
Aye.
Keith Campbell,
Aye.
Bill Gallagher,
Aye.
Amy Richardson,
Aye.
and Jim Steele Smith.
I'll recuse myself. Through
Yeah.
agenda.
I'd like to hand this off, to reading of our agenda today to Steve here, who's put it together for us.
Okay, thinking that would be helpful process-wise, just to have an agenda for this evening. The sequence is going to be, first of all, Kyle calling it to order. We'll then turn to the applicant for whatever statements that they might like to make and whatever witnesses in turn you choose to call. Following that, the zoning inspector will make a statement and call any witnesses as appropriate. We will then come out of that discussion and have a BZA board discussion about what we're hearing and what we think is going on. And that will then lead to any recommended action from the BZA this evening. If that's a motion, so be it. We'll see where we are as we proceed through the hearing. And when that happens, when that's done, we will adjourn the hearing. First of all, we know there are residents and public here tonight, and we appreciate your interest and participation. I just want to sort of point out for your information, tonight's hearing is not to gather information that led to the zoning inspector making a decision a while ago about the property and basically issuing a cease and desist order. What we have here tonight is the applicant is applying an appeal to that decision. All of the public input that led to the original decision that the zoning inspector, Mike Cannon, made is germane and is what led us to this point. But unless the appeal applicant and or Mike ask for public input, there will not be a public speaking segment tonight because that is really not part of what we're here to decide tonight. Is that clear? Okay. So, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'm going to go over a couple little procedural notes here. Any all questions from the presenters will go through and be directed through the chair. All persons speaking will stand at the podium. We'll swear everyone in that plans to speak, or anybody that does come up to speak, we'll double check that you've been sworn in when you come to the podium. We don't want anybody yelling out from the gallery. If anybody has any business with the board today, we'll make sure we have it captured and at the podium with microphones and such. Are there any other members who would like to recuse themselves?
No.
Nope. We'll note that Jim Steele Smith recused. Are there any questions on the procedures for tonight?
So I just asked that we have the opportunity to cross-examine those that, it sounded like we talked early, but maybe not have the opportunity to ask questions later of any additional evidence you guys get.
I think that's a fair question to ask, and I think that's we can probably address that as we go through tonight. I think that's a likely procedure.
Go ahead and swear people in.
Okay. So for anybody who'd like to speak tonight or may speak tonight, would you please stand at this time and raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
We saw you.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Okay, at this time, we welcome open statements from the applicant.
Can you sit at the table here?
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, the mic's on, so you can sit at the table if you want.
Okay.
Put up there too.
Can you double check, make sure it's on the up position there?
Up is on.
Up is on.
It is on. Thank you.
So could you state your name and your address and your reason for being here?
Joe Clace, Plan for Land, 1 South Harrison Street in Ashley, Ohio, 43003. I'm here to represent Derek Neff. I'm also here with Jeff Sharp, and he's legal counsel for Mr. Neff as well. And may ask him to offer some testimony as well this evening. But wanted to kind of introduce why we're seeking the appeal. The nature of the appeal was because the violation itself didn't hit at the points of nonconforming use and the rights that would be granted with that. So we're introducing a few things. We've got a public records request from Mike Cannon at the township, and I hope you guys were able to get that as well, as far as the history of the case and what's been going on with it. I want to hit on maybe one point. I've only known Derek for a short time, but he has never indicated that he is above the law. He just wants to make sure that he's not below it. I feel like land use decisions can pester and go on for years if they're not adequately addressed. I was brought on to represent him to seek commercial zoning, and that might still be a path that he would want to go down. But there's a non-conforming statute of this property that I've been made aware of, and I'm hoping that you get made aware of tonight. And as part of that, I think there's maybe a better scenario where non-conforming use would get him and the township in a better situation for long-term limiting conflict. I don't want to see the township 10 years from now, and I don't want to see him 10 years from now dealing with the same issue. So I've dealt with non-conforming uses in the past. We're going to introduce some evidence from those, and they're in the area. I think from the idea of what's been presented to you as a written packet, we tried to highlight the justifications for addressing non-conforming use, in the idea that we could seek substitution of a non-conforming use instead of a rezoning of this property, if it's determined that this use is different from the use of the property in the past. Again, going back to, we did approach zoning office about that. Feel like there's such a history that the best chance for a fair and impartial hearing is here. Nothing against the zoning inspector. I love working with Mike. I think the idea of when we originally talked is there's 4 points that we're going to be talking about tonight that I would like to have a fair and impartial hearing on those, mainly with the idea that that gives standing for an application for a substitution of a non-conforming use. And I think if my client was interested in extensive commercial or industrial use of this property, he would be seeking a rezoning. He bought a property that he wants to be a good neighbor. He wants to try to emulate what the community wants, but he wants that spelled out. And he wasn't getting that in the violation notice. It was to cease all commercial activity. And we're arguing there are some commercial or light industrial rights to this property. That's why we're here tonight. So the idea of making sure that it's we can try to stay focused on the appeal. I do want to have the discussion about hours of operation, number of trucks, as you introduced tonight. I don't think that's why we're here tonight. We're just here to find out, was there a prior nonconformity of the use of the property? Did that continue? And does that give standing to him to file for a substitution, if required, to file for a substitution of a nonconforming use? So I want to talk a little bit about those 4 points. And then we did highlight 3 people that I have talked to or been aware of documentation of how they were involved in the process, and would like to give an opportunity for them to introduce some witness testimony as well. So in line with the discussion, we're not asking for approval of any of the activities been operating on this property. I don't want to sound contentious to the point of, I understand there's been complaints, and if I had understood some of the hours of operations and things, I think I understand the nature of why those complaints occurred. We do want to address those. It's not our interest to continue to make the property appear to be a nuisance to the neighbors, but we do want to understand the legal rights of it. I'm not a lawyer, so I did want to indicate from a site planning perspective, I want to prepare a site plan, as I've indicated to the zoning commission before we came to you. I just want to make sure that I'm in the proper forum for that site plan to be heard. I don't want to be going in with an argument that we're trying to clash with the comprehensive plan. You guys spent a lot of time as a community building a vision for the community, and we don't want to clash with that. What we really want to do is come up with what's the best scenario for this situation so that it isn't an ongoing issue for you guys for 5 to 10 years. In relationship to that, we want to kind of understand any biases of the request, and we'd ask just to make sure that's part of the nature of why our public records request what it was. We're going with the idea that we'd like to make sure that these 4 points are heard and it's not biased by the complaints that were there. We understand that we could walk out of here and win all 4 arguments and still lose the idea that he could do his property, what he wants to do. We're just asking for a fair opportunity to apply for that. So the first claim was the non-conforming history of the property. I was made aware just in the last couple of weeks as we got our public records request that there was a document provided by your board in 1988 that itemized 19 pages or 14 pages, almost 150 non-conforming uses. And this property was called out in that list. I believe you have it, but I'd like to enter it just to make sure that you have a copy of what's there. This is page 5 of a 14-page packet that was provided to us by the township. Item cites the property while the address sell it there. This neighborhood property, but on this property was previously a part of the Gerbrand farm. So it's family land that had a number of uses over time. And we wanted to make sure that it was known essentially how those operated.
Could you clarify which property again?
So 12030 Center Village Road. And there's an itemized, it's code number 2. And if you follow code number 2 in the table of contents, it's business use of the property. And code number 9, which is a multifamily dwelling. Or a multiple dwellings, 2 or more houses on the lot. So those are the codes that were assigned to the property. It's from looking through that discussion, it's my understanding that in 1988, this inventory was prepared. In 1990, there were a couple board meetings with the Board of Zoning Appeals to monitor and police those non-conforming uses. Generally, non-conforming uses are granted by Ohio law. And again, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't argue this, but I can tell you from a practitioner standpoint, the non-conforming uses are generally permitted by the state and called out in Ohio Revised Code 519 because they want to ensure that zoning doesn't step on the rights of individuals and doesn't take property value from them. So in granting that zoning to this property, I understand there were various documents that were provided by the prior owner in 1988 or before that indicated the business use of this property to be retained by Harlem Township. We did not get those back in the public records request, and I'm not pointing a finger at the township. That happens a lot. But what I understand was this list of 150 uses, there was a lot of data that went behind that at the time to generate that list and understand what it was. You're going to hear from Alan Gerbrand tonight, who sold the property on May 13th, 2021 to my client. His testimony, we're going to ask some pointed questions about the use of the property and the continued use of the property to the day of sale. I also understand some of the prior zoning officers that he had conversations with about the business use of the property are no longer with us. And unfortunately, we can't ask them questions, but I am asking the 2 most recent zoning inspectors, including your current zoning inspector, to provide anything that they know about the business use of this property in the past as well. We're arguing that it was lawful at the time it was established. And I think this list is evidence of that. It's been documented that there was a business use of this property, whether it's been substituted or changed over time. I think we will have to, we'll learn more about that. But my idea is that, or my understanding is that it is a non-conforming use of the property in the past. This property was split at some point, granted a separate address. But business use of this building continued, and as you'll see from some of the case law, we believe that that continues. So claim number 2, we were told by the zoning office, and I understand this is not in my mind standard practice, but I understand that there was a discussion that with the change in ownership, that any non-conforming use of the property would not continue, and that we couldn't make a claim of that. So we're asking for the board, secondly, to vote on if we could argue that a change of ownership does not allow for, or does not preclude their ability to seek substitution of a non-conforming use or continue that non-conforming use in the future. So Mr. Sharp's here tonight to answer maybe some of the legal cases around.
Bill, hold on a
Yeah,
minute.
sure.
So, I don't believe for the purpose of tonight's hearing, there's a responsibility. You put 4 points in your proposal, reasonable grounds for appeal.
Sure.
We don't have a responsibility to respond to really any or all of those. We need to hear them.
Sure.
We need to hear your points. And then we move towards making a decision, but we're not going to give you necessarily a response point by point.
Sure.
Okay,
Well, I'm just pointing these as the arguments of
I
why we're
understand
here.
what they are,
Sure.
but there will not be a point by point rebuttal to each point.
Okay.
Or even logical explanation on feeling of the board.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure. I would understand if the appeal continued. The only reason that I'm calling these out, or these are the justification for why we're here tonight.
We understand that.
So on number 2, we tried to offer some case law. The idea is there's 2 cases that I understand that are local on Center Village or close by Center Village that we offered in our argument that were specific reasons why we also felt that Delaware County had a past practice of ensuring that non-conforming uses transfer with ownership as well. It's not contrary to anything in the Harlem Township zoning code itself. Claim number 3 is the right to substitute. You have a section 2403. We understand it's in there. We feel like we have opportunity to seek that versus a PCD, which is where my client was directed to seek out a initial path. I feel like that was the wrong path. Might grant more rights to him in the long run if it was approved, but it is contrary to the comprehensive plan. It's not in spirit of what a non-conforming use really is. And he bought the property knowing there were going to be limitations on this property. He just wants to know what they are. So our argument is really that seeking an approval under 2403 of your code sets the best precedent. Not just for this property, but for the other 150 properties, any of those that might still be in operation today, of which there's one right across the road that was listed as an excavator. I understand there's still business use on that property. There's 2 family dwellings. So I do think that there's a precedent to be set with the arguments against claim number 3. In the 4th claim that we have was just the blank prohibition of commercial activity. We understand the nature of the complaints that were written to the zoning office over the last 4 years, that it's been labeled a nuisance. We want to define what that nuisance is. So we think that by calling it a non-conforming use, acknowledging the legal rights under non-conforming law, that's going to put to bed that issue, give you as a board the opportunity to prescribe rules for this property under which it would be the same or less intense than what was there before. And in my mind, there's justification for that in practice and in law. So we provided you some evidence of ways that that's been done in the past. So I think that if we could create standards to enforce the use of this property, we're not obviously asking for that to happen tonight, but if I could put together a site plan that outlined how this property is being used and how it's less intense than what you'll hear the arguments of how it's been used in the past, or same or less intense, that would be my argument, is that we would have that opportunity to at least present it to you. So I have to represent the public's interest first in my ethical obligations as a planner. I'm not a lawyer. What I'm really trying to do is find a win-win scenario for everybody. I'm sure my client would rather have a commercial or industrially zoned property. There's more value there to him. But he understands that he wants to be a good neighbor, and he's asked that I proceed with this under my recommendation that this might be the best path for us to put a proposed land use in front of you that could meet everybody's expectations. I understand everybody's not going to be happy, but at least they could respect how we got to where we're going. So that's what I have for you. I do have 3 people that we listed. I would like to start with Alan, mainly to make sure he doesn't have to hang around all night if he doesn't want to. But Alan Garabrandt was the seller of the property, and I would like to have him maybe answer just a few questions. He could join me here if that works for you, or at the podium, whatever works best.
Yeah, please do.
You want to sit or stand?
Little bit of a problem there, because I, even with my hearing.
You just swear him in.
We'll sit right beside him.
You have to guide me.
Yeah.
through this, so.
So I'll have you introduce your officer there. I want you to know who you are.
Yeah, Alan, could you state your name and your reason for being here and your current address? And I believe you were sworn in. Could you verify that?
Yeah, Alan Garbrand, 12030 Center Village Road, Westerville, Ohio, 43082.
And you were sworn in when we did the swearing in
Yeah.
testimony? Okay.
So I asked Alan to come tonight, and I guess we had him subpoenaed under the board mainly because we wanted to express the importance of the testimony that he'll provide. We do not have photos of prior use of this property. Just like I don't go out and take pictures of my wood shop of what I'm doing in my wood shop. There's not activity being documented in the past. But I've asked him, and I may cut him off in a few points, and I told him I may do that because we've had some lengthy conversations about the history of this property. But I would like you to hear from him what's happened and have the opportunity to ask him questions directly, as well as zoning inspector if he's got questions for Alan as well. I just wanted to make sure that we make best use of Alan's time. So in regards to that, I provided a summary, and I understand there might have been some phrasing and terminology, and especially in the technologies that were used on the property that are inconsistent with what he's actually done. It's well over my head. He has a trade technology background, and Alan had I guess built or expanded the shop with the idea that he was going to run his business there. But can you summarize for them the activity and why there was a business located on this property?
Basically, it's just my spirit. I was born on a farm, so I was all time fixing, making, doing things. Went to college, got 2 degrees, went to industrial technology, and this the world of construction, world of manufacturing. Didn't know I was going to be in that manufacturing part until I got to OSU, and then there was a book written, and we were going to replace the previous training in high schools or in grade schools. But the problem was it was discontinued, but I was in that pilot program at OSU. So I have a master's degree, and I got in that because it was how to do things. I just thought, well, I'll teach, I can cite 5 or 6 different places I've done very short-term trainings, started a wood academy and west of us here, about 2 hours, and worked on Morse Road teaching. I taught at Big Walnut and also up to the industrial group there in Delaware, what do you want to call that? Anyway, but I've been doing a lot of training, okay, and I'm kind of like been always doing it. I'm doing it presently, actually. Okay.
So when you sold the property,
But when I
go ahead.
But when I got what it is, when I did have a patent I applied for. That's one reason why I built the property. And then I had actually a patent attorney basically took it from me in a way, but the problem was I had 3-phase current out front, and I built a place to do operations. Of course, there was no zoning at the time. Okay, so I went to the state of Ohio and met some people, they took care of some stuff, the documents, whatever. And because couldn't go to the zoning because it was cease and desist for the zoning because they'd already been sued 3 times and there was problems. And I kind of went through all that process too, watching different things happen. And we finally got a zoning thing that you wouldn't get knocked out and have to rebuild it again. So I was part of that process too, but there was no zoning at the time. So I had to go to other authorities, had Delaware County involved. Never had any complaints from anybody about my operations because I followed the instructions of the trustees. You do this, only that way. And I did. Okay, so, but I've been self-employed my entire life. Okay, so I had trucks. I go in, if I'm doing one operation, I'd unload, reload, and off I would go. I've had number of trucks. Okay, so the building was always in use. Okay, and I used it for my entire life. Okay, till I sold it. And my nature is to build big. I just love creating things, designing, building for my customers. And if they say, I wasn't doing woodwork, well, we'd have to subpoena Jerry Paul. Okay. I mean, I would have to subpoena his brother, Tom Paul. Just stories. I was building a house even down at Logan. And I was talking about what I was doing in Logan with an individual who was involved with other companies. Okay. And I mentioned Wildcat Road. He says, oh, I just bought a place down there. I said, well, I got to go back and visit it sometime. Well, I couldn't remember. I knew it was there. We went by it, come back, and finally I said, oh, this is it. This is it. Come to be, it was right next door to him. Anyway, so I've been doing operations of making manufacturing stuff for years. I don't care if it was a gate, latch, Columbus, or whatever, neighbors in all over the community. Okay. But I always operated basically on the door on my side. Okay. And went in and out all the time, been busy continuously, creating, making, manufacturing stuff. Just love it. It's just my nature. So, and what was you?
So,
what
could
do
you
need?
explain the Coke Corporation quality?
A coat? Oh,
Yeah,
well,
what
okay.
that was.
Yeah, I had a strippable coating. I did apply for it. And I built the place, designed it specifically for that. Now, like all inventors, you have a 3-legged stool. You take a one leg, it's not going to work. Okay. It's not going to balance, stand up on its own. Well, there's money, several steps. Okay. You take one of those away, then it doesn't happen. Well, I had a patent. Okay. I probably should have cashed in on it money wise, but my intent was to make it there in a 500-gallon tank. Okay. Had people helping me locally here. Okay. Central College example in that area. And some state people were involved. Okay. Can't remember their names, but anyway, I had to go through even doing electrical box and all that stuff, through Delaware County. So, a coat was a strippable coating. The idea was my idea. Now there was other uses, but was to, if you're transporting cars from manufacturing, you have to worry about salt water and they're bringing them overseas, right? So, and then also stacks of wood. The wood is affected by salt. So you can spray it on, blow it off with water, or you blow it off with air. That was my original idea. Then 6 months after I kind of decided not to do it because I couldn't buy my product in semi-loads like the other chemical companies. I was just making my product and I still have chunks of it. Okay. Little brown now because of age, but it's the same product. And if you ever got it's kind of like when you get your credit cards on the back of a mailing, that little clear stuff.
that holds your card in place. That basically was it. By the way, it was right after I had turned it into my patent attorney. But anyway, but that's just the way it is.
So
Does that explain the
Yeah,
code?
no, and I might just elaborate a little bit why I'm asking some of these questions. So I understand you substituted the use, the light industrial use of the property to numerous businesses and different things over the course of years. But did you ever discontinue use of the property for a business?
No, I'm self-employed. How could I exist and not have a job? I never worked a job, okay, my entire life. Little tiny period, as soon as I got out of high school, I went to manufacturing in Westerville as part of that. And then one day I went to the office, come to find out my math teacher was in there, okay? Big Walnut. Anyway, so then I was basically self-employed basically from then on, all over. So at Center Village, yeah.
So could you address the address listed on here is your
12030.
That's your residence, but
My residence.
the uses that are listed here, were they at your residence or were they on this property?
Well, my address contained both of them and then later, at some point in time, I thought, well, I probably should separate it in case something would happen in the future, not knowing what that would be. Okay. So I actually relocated, what's the word? You know, you create a plot and that becomes separate. Okay. So I separated because all this was my mom and dad's ground, basically. And then I bought ground from them, actually. And I just proceeded from there. Okay.
Yep, no, that sounds good. So in line with that, I
Do you
want
have a date for that?
I do.
when the subdivision occurred. When did you subdivide the lot?
I don't know. It was never been important until now. What Delaware County would tell you, because that has to be done through somebody. I can't read. It's old history, you know. I'm 78 years old. Okay, so you have to excuse me. Anyway, but there's got to be something in writing somewhere. But I went through zonings. I know before we started off this last zoning, I was supposed to be put in there for all the company things I was doing at that time. Now, if they did it because they did their job. If they didn't put it in there in the archives, because I was at those meetings, I can tell you a lot of stories of success and failure. And basically, I saw a lot of problems come and go, and everybody got all emotional and everything. Well, it always worked out. The guy on 605, he won finally, but then 2 years later, he sold all the cars, moved away. Problem went away. The big trailer court thing, they actually did something wrong. I don't know all the details, except they won. But the investors backed out, decided, well, we're not going to build someplace that no one wants us. They had plans of doing a quality job there. You know, I don't know all the details, but it was going to be a lot better than the one we have there now. Okay. But the investors backed out and township won basically because they just backed out on the financing. So a lot of this, you know, I see there's need for small businesses. I was born we had several lathe operations in the community. Taylor's store, I can't imagine this not having fracassos. I was involved with all that. Matter of fact, I put the electrical security system in there. I got so many, I taught wood, metal, electricity, electronics, wood carving, jewelry, stained glass, solar energy, custom productions. I don't know what all, at Big Walnut, okay? It's just my nature. I did a lot of different things. I just knew stuff and worked for Sightsinger Security Company. System's still there, still working. Oh, by the way, we didn't have a wall to put my box. Usually you put the box in, then you run the wires. Well, I did all the wires. Mark Sightsinger come down. We had a wall finally, put it on there. Everything worked the first time. I got a little praise and I couldn't figure out what he was talking about. Oh yeah, that's right. We had all the mechanical people in there doing vents and everything else. Well, I just love doing stuff all the time, just my nature. So
So I've been to your property, your house, and I understand the nature of the orientation of this property to your house.
Yeah.
There's overhead doors that front your property. There's
Yeah.
overhead doors that face away. Can you summarize the changes that have occurred on this property? I know access was granted to the back of the property, where you previously accessed it from your property.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I just went from my property over the other one, and so I used the front, well, we had the creek. Okay, so you had a creek. I didn't have a bridge here on the 5 acres, the 513, whatever, okay? So, and
The bridge is on your residential.
oh, I
property
have,
for-
the only bridge for years was my bridge, which I constructed and built a certain way, along with the guy that lived, there on the property. But anyway, the point is that,
Would you argue that the use of the property today is more intense, less intense, or similar in intensity to the way that you operated the property for the past couple decades?
more intense. I didn't get sick so much I quit using it. I don't know. what you're-
So
Sure.
the business that's operating there now, is it more intense than the way that you had used the property in the past? And I say intense with the idea of impact on maybe neighboring property owners.
Well, I've never had any problems with them, but I'm not sure what you're asking, but
Sure.
anyway.
Well,
if,
it may be better handled through.
I might say it this way, there was well, I had so many operations going on in there. I never had to use the east door. It just, I put stuff wherever I could, move things, do another operation. It didn't make any difference what was going on. You just revamp trailers, trucks, tractors. I had lathes. I mean, I had everything. If you don't believe me, I can have a minister come in and be wound up with one of them.
Would it be
Anyway.
a fair assessment to say that after Derek purchased the property, he did some cleanup on the property and then
Oh, yeah. Well, there's been, gads, one of the things was a little bit in the back was always seasonal for me. I mean, I could go out there, but it was always soft ground. So he had to address that problem. He brought stuff in and made it solid, So, and I had a 3-bay door system for semis if I had to, or pickup, box trucks and stuff. And of course, I didn't really have to do those because, like I said, I discontinued my desire to do the corporation. Okay, so
plans changed, right?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
life changes. Just leave things alone. They always change. It's just the way it is. But everybody's got their own dream. I don't care where you live in the community, even a homeowner. But of course, I saw people complaining about the farmers wanted to have control of the land. So we had a farming community, right? Well, the people before that didn't particularly like that, I guess. But it was easier for everybody to digest. Well, then we have new people coming out and they want it to be like where they were from. Okay, so I understand this problem of mental adjustment. Now we're going to have technology affect our community and the way people live. And the telephone is going to be our worst enemy.
Well,
I
so
won't get into all
yeah,
that.
so
but go ahead.
in line with that, I wanted to provide an opportunity if the board has any questions. The nature of why I brought Alan is he marketed the property with the prior business use in mind. He is the next door neighbor. He has the most blatant view of the property as it sits now, and I can probably answer any questions about the nature of what's in front of you before beyond maybe the discussion with neighbors that may be a little bit further away than him.
Yeah, I got a quick question for you. You mentioned you had trucks come in there. Can you elaborate on the nature of the trucks? Were they like 3/4 ton pickup trucks?
Well, I was basically, well, because of, you have to worry about weather. Okay. So I used for years, mini box trucks.
Box trucks.
Okay. So they were big trucks, but like I said, I had people that wouldn't work with me because I would just change a hat. One day we're doing this, next day we're doing something else. That was just my nature. And they get used to their sore muscles. They get adjusted to it. And the job, is that mine? Oh, I know what it is. I have a business call. How do I turn that off? Okay, there we go. Okay, I have a business call. I'm still doing back. at my age. Okay. I don't want to get into details. It's kind of involved, but we could be here for 4 hours. But anyway,
But
what was the
you
question?
indicated there's box trucks.
Oh, yeah.
And you still,
Several
you
box
still own those
trucks.
box
I
trucks?
had several pickups. Uh, even now I have a box on my truck. Okay. Because I was even working down on Main Street in Columbus and I didn't want to have to deal with somebody stealing stuff out of the back of my truck. It was just a pickup. So I downsized it and I could get in there easy, do jobs on Main Street, you know, just, I mean, I had veterans. Okay. So a lot of them were over there fighting for us and they would call me and say, take care of my property. Even some of them even signed I basically own the place because in case something happened to them, so it could be handled right. But anyway, the point was, I would just change whatever tools like for example, we had to do 15-gallon, two-story house near OSU. I could just change all the cardboard, the box, the rugs, the wrappings, whatever. We'd be in 2 or 3 hours. We were out of there. It'd be 3 of us. Boom. It's painted. Okay. I could throw 3 5-gallon buckets on the ceilings, the walls, and the light hits the ceiling, makes it look like it's a different color than the wall, just the way it does it. Plus use earth colors and the stuff, but they remodel down there all the time because of students at OSU. And I'm from that farm too, so I knew the area. But anyway,
Any other questions?
any other questions?
Any other questions from the board?
No, I would just ask that you stay until we get to the point that we go into deliberation.
Yeah,
Okay.
can you?
Yeah, he's asking if you could stick around to the
Today?
point of deliberation. Yeah, they're gonna
Okay.
discuss.
Because I
Can
don't
he
know,
step
I
out
don't
to
know
do-
what's going on here. So
Yeah.
and I can't hear. I
Sure.
really can't. I'm surprised because I'm wearing hearing aids.
Sure. Thank you. No, they may have some questions for you later, but
Okay.
I think you answered what we needed for
That
now.
was my call from my business call.
Yeah.
That my phone rang, by the way.
When,
I did tell him I wouldn't be there talking tonight. So
I have one question. You
Yeah.
said that lot was split off. Was that back in 1988? You remember?
did I what now?
That lot.
When was they don't, I think it was asked earlier when the lot was split. Can you give an idea of when that might have occurred?
Oh, I couldn't do it accurately.
What-
It was such an insignificant thing. As a matter of fact, if I remember, see, I thought, well, the back of the lot will never be this or whatever. Okay.
How about this? Can you answer? Was it split before the sale? Like
Oh,
with the
yeah, it's
sale?
been split for years.
What
That's
size
one
is that
reason why I
lot?
can't remember.
That an acre and a quarter lot?
The actual property. I
You
can
mean
tell-
my acreage?
It's 5.13 acres.
Yeah, 13.13.
That was what was sold.
And one more quick question, and I think you mentioned earlier that the property was sold in 2021. Did Alan sell it to the current owner in
Correct.
2021?
Yes. May of 2021.
Okay.
Anything else for Alan?
I think we're good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alan.
Thanks, Alan.
Good.
Appreciate it. I might ask just a couple questions of you. No?
I didn't get a subpoena.
Oh, you did? Is it possible that you would want to answer a couple just questions about the?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
You
want me
can
to
either
come up
join
there?
me or the mic,
Yeah,
whatever.
or to the mic.
Yeah.
Make sure it's smart.
So Matt was a zoning inspector when the
Well,
property.
oh.
Sorry, yeah. go ahead.
So Matt, could you state your name, your address, and have you been sworn in? Did you stand?
I did,
Okay.
yeah. Matt Kurz, 12,000 Woodtown Road, Galena.
And you were the prior zoning inspector for Harlem Township?
Yes.
Do you have approximate dates for that? No?
Honestly, don't have a clue.
The main thing I wanted to see, were you aware of the non-conforming use list? And was there anything that you did? And I'm not trying to point blame at all. What I'm trying to do is just say, was there any activity on enforcement on this property? And I know that you had some dialogue with them. Could you summarize the dialogue that you had?
There were,
with
I believe, 2 letters issued for, I don't remember what they're issued for, non-conforming use or noise. We got a few complaints from neighbors about trucks banging at early
Excuse
morning
me,
hours.
excuse me. Are you asking about prior to the sale or after the sale?
This would be after the sale, it's my understanding. Was there anything before the sale of the property before before Mr. Neff purchased?
I
the
was,
property?
I mean, I was not aware of that.
Okay,
I mean, there was a whole list of prior zoning violations as I came on, and I believe the Garabrandt property in whole was one. I don't know if they were split at that time when it was split.
okay, thank you.
And I think part of our argument on why the change of the use of the property might have intensified complaints, there were trucks that were on site that were delivering millings that were dumping so that he could park trucks out of sight from the roadway. Do you recall a conversation with him just to say out of sight, out of mind, try to not
No,
let neighbors see anything?
I would never have said, hey, do it under the radar. You know, I believe, I don't know if I met an owner. I stopped by once. I believe I was notified by somebody that hey, there was a complaint. So I went out there. I happened to catch somebody putting a gate up front. I did not enter the property. Just kind of asked some questions. Hey, what are you guys doing? There's some heavy trucks here, me being in the construction industry. You know, digging a little bit, that seemed like there was probably something going on other than just cleaning up the property, especially dumping at early morning or late evening hours. You know, that tends to, assumption there is bringing asphalt millings from a paving job because those are done late at night.
So in line with that, when you left as zoning inspector, was it an open violation or did you have an agreement on what would happen?
It was an open violation.
Okay. Okay.
There were multiple letters, I believe, issued and no response. And I handed those off.
Was there any documentation put on record as far as what was going on with the property that you're aware of? I didn't get any pictures or videos. I didn't know if there was anything like that that you had acquired under the township that would
I
give
don't
an idea of
remember.
complaints.
It's been too long ago.
Was there ever discussion with Mr. Neff about seeking a substitution or a non-conforming use, change in
Not with
non-conforming
me.
use? Okay, or a rezone? No, okay,
Not with me.
all right. That's all I had unless you guys have questions. I appreciate you coming out.
No, I think we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Then my last questions were for Mike, relationship.
I've got a perfect question statement here.
Yep.
If
If you could you come speak at the mic? Could you come speak at the microphone again?
Okay, my mom and dad gave me, because of my activities as a kid, the 4-something acres, okay? Then I bought the next door 5.13, okay? That's why there's division for Delaware County. So that's all can be looked up. Okay, so does that make that clear? Does that help any?
So property
In other words,
transferred ownership.
I
about it.
didn't get both properties at the same time. I was given one because I spent a lot of my time as a kid on those 4 acres. Okay, so that was a gift to me. Okay, but I bought the 5.13, and it was basically because I had a dream. Okay, so I bought those 5 acres, paid for them. Okay, and that's probably on the records in Delaware, as far as I know.
So you're saying that 5 acres is the
$5,000,
current property
huh?
we're speaking? You're saying that 5 acres, the 5 acre
Yes,
portion is the
yeah,
current
that's why
property?
they're separated. Okay, does that help? That makes sense?
Now, what I'm asking is the 5 acres, is that the current property that we're speaking?
Yeah,
of?
the one that's
Yeah.
there, yeah, it's the same lots.
Yeah, okay. I
The
just want to get
surveyors
that.
did it. Okay, that's the best. Oh, there's the best way for me to explain it. So I can understand what you guys are trying to figure out. There was a survey and an additional survey. That would be at Delaware. You get all that info from that. Does that help? I hope that cleared it up.
Simple question is, in 2014,
What
there
did he
was a
say?
there was a transfer of 10 acres to you from
10 acres.
a Ronald Buxton.
Can
Did you
you
get 10 acres from Ronald Buxton?
from me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I forgot all about all that. I
was in 2014.
I worked for a lot of people, okay? A gentleman was buying a lot of homes. He would buy them. I helped him I was like an employee, but wasn't. I'd meet twice a day to find out what he wanted done. I'd make this stuff in that shop, be in and out, boom, 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 bang, bang, and we got along pretty good until he committed suicide. But anyway, the point is that I talked him into buying one of the Buxton properties. Okay. I owned that for a while. Okay. And then I sold it because I was having some illness issues. And so I sold it. You're right. I did own it for a period of time. Don't ask me the date. So. Okay.
So just for clarity, you had 4 acres that you were given by your parents. Later on, at some point in time, you purchased the property and being reviewed today,
Yes.
but they were never joined together. They were always separate parcels.
They've always been several parcels.
So there was not a lot split as such.
Well, according to.
They're asking about
records
the
here,
farm. So the idea is the Garabrandt farm extended down to what road?
Oh, we used
But
to
how do
own
you
all the
find-
way from,
Hold on a minute,
From
please.
the county recorder's office from May of 2024. There was a parcel number, I don't know what this one is. It says 3162402016000 with the address of 12121 Center Village Road. And it was transferred to Garabrandt and his wife. And it says containing 10 acres. So that's what I was trying to figure out.
When was that?
May of 20,
I get it.
May of
Yeah.
14,
Okay.
14.
2014.
And is that the parcel that is now
That's the same address. That's what I was looking at.
being sold or was sold?
How it got split to 5 acres, I don't know. I'd have
What's
to
he
go back and look at
saying?
some more records.
So yeah, the idea, this is been family property down to Miller, Paul. So Alan's brother also owns the land to the east and to the south and also to the west of you, correct?
Yep, you're right.
Yeah, he's
right.
all around.
This
So
is really germane.
this was all part of
Yeah,
family
to
the
farm.
question.
So I think what we're trying to come to a conclusion on is that if the property we're talking about at 12116 Center Village is the same property at 12030 Center Village, which was on this record from 1988.
Yeah, I think he lived next door. It's not listed as a home occupation. There was a specific list of home occupations. This was not listed as a home occupation. But he had this separate parcel that he acquired because of the building that existed,
Are you
correct?
talking about the
Did the-
rental across the street?
No, no,
What are you
no.
talking about?
No. Did the building exist before you bought the property?
The building exists.
The building that Mr. Neff's purchased from you, did it exist before you bought the property from your family?
No,
It did not. So he built the building on the property.
that's how the state got involved because the zoning was not
Yeah.
empowered to be
So it
able
would
to
have been
help me.
before 88 is my understanding. It would have been before you showed up on this list that the property would have been acquired, correct?
Say it again.
So the actual property was acquired before 1988 because that's when it was listed under the house as a potential as businesses. You said.
I don't know for sure.
Mr.
but
Gerber.
I think he's given testimony that he worked out of that building, which is the property we're
Yes,
speaking of.
That's really why. I'm
And
here, I
whether
guess.
or not the addresses in the record here are accurate or not is
Yeah.
maybe a different issue.
Yeah, I think we should.
He indicated he provided a lot of evidence to the township. This is all I was able to find in the record. So I'm assuming there's other evidence, but I don't know that it exists today. That'd be my question.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
That help
Okay.
any? Because I
Thanks.
can see why you're confused because I'm confused.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. You guys know
Okay.
Blake. I don't know if he actually needs sworn in, but
Are you-
I
are you-
sworn in back earlier. Is this working?
Yeah.
Are you concluding?
No,
I have
he
some
was
questions.
calling Mike as a witness.
Oh, I missed it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, this Mike Cannon. I'm the zoning inspector. I live at 13232 Center Village Road.
So my big question, I had 4 claims. You and I met in the office to talk about them. Has your opinion of any of these changed since we filed the application?
The 4 claims you just reviewed with those.
Yeah.
Is my opinion changed as far as I agree with those? Is
Yeah,
that what
so
you're asking?
specifically,
No.
were you aware of this list before the issuing the violation?
I'm aware of that list. Yes, I was aware of that.
Okay, but you did not find that it was a continuation of the non-conforming use that existed before?
I did not.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, yeah, I think, and I'll get into it now. I think if you go back and look and just look at I think I sent that to you, just look at the satellite images from when Mr. Garabrandt was working in that. I mean, it clearly doesn't have any dump trucks on it. In fact, I don't think I ever saw a dump truck on there. It looks like just overgrown vegetation all over there. Whereas now you've got 2 full parking lots, with stone and gravel and ground up blacktop down there, right there. But I mean, you want to talk about conforming use, which that's their decision, not mine. And you were talking about the degree of severity. I think it's much more intense what's going on there now than was before.
Okay.
If you're asking my outlook on that, but
Yeah, and I think eventually we will be. My argument essentially upfront is that there was a prior non-conforming use. He purchased the property, that there was a prior non-conforming use. You had indicated to me that the township stance was that does not transfer with the ownership of the property. Is that still your stance?
Yeah.
Okay. And then as far as the right to seek substitution, I read through the violation notices. It seemed like what was offered in 2403 gives him the opportunity, if it was a prior non-conforming use, which I think your argument was that it wasn't, then he would have the opportunity to file that. He was directed that one of his options would be to file a planned commercial rezoning.
one of his options was to go to the zoning commission and whatever options they choose. I don't choose anything for them to do.
Sure.
You can go for a rezone, you can go for a planned district or whatever you want, or they can go to the BZA for a variance or ask whatever they want, or like we're here now to override what I'm saying.
And two last questions. So did you give him an opportunity to appeal the determination that it wasn't a non-conforming use, or was that argument discussed with you? Or
The non-conforming use was never discussed with me until you brought it up.
Okay. And then that would make sense. So then the other one was the right to substitute. You sent me a list. I didn't see anything in there that said that anybody had ever used 23 to seek a substitute.
I didn't either.
For use. Okay. Great. And then as far as the prohibition of commercial activity, I understand you issued that violation because you found it was not prior non-conforming use, correct?
You mean what they're doing? What do you?
So
Run that by me
if
again?
you had found that it was a continuation of the prior non-conforming use, you may not have issued the violation that you issued to them, correct?
Well, that's not true, because if there was a non-conforming use going on before, my opinion is that the non-conforming use doesn't carry over. So when he sells a property, that non-conforming use goes away.
Okay. Yeah, so in line with that, are you familiar with ORC 71315 that talks about non-conforming uses and how they create?
I think you brought it up to me. Yeah.
Okay. But that doesn't change your stance on how they transferred through?
No, because that's what these guys, you brought it here to appeal my decision to the Board of Zoning
Okay.
Appeals. So they can take it from there.
Okay, understood. I don't know that I have any other specific questions for Mike. I appreciate him answering questions as well. My general consensus in presenting all 3 witnesses is we've gotten here by a series of unfortunate events. And I feel like if the issue was addressed adequately as a non-conforming use at the time that it was originally brought as a complaint, and I'm not blaming either prior zoning inspector. I'm just saying that if it was addressed that could have been a potential non-conforming use, I think the path would have been different. And maybe some of the animosity that neighbors have toward Mr. Neff and his use of the property would not have escalated, because I
But that's
understand.
speculative. We'll not know the answer to that.
Sure.
So we don't need to go there.
But I'm just arguing the idea that I think on why the violation notices have not been enforced is that there's a lot of question about the nature of this property, and that's what I'd like to try to address. So,
Okay.
That's the nature of why I'm trying to bring people in front of you. So I
Mhm.
appreciate that. But other than that, I don't have anything in addition, unless we have an opportunity. I would like to reserve an opportunity to ask questions of any additional testimony that you receive, just to be able to address that with the board and.
Yep.
Sure. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go.
And I believe now we can hear from our zoning inspector. Some more?
Am I still logged in here? Do I got to reintroduce?
Yeah,
myself?
go ahead and restate if you would.
All right, Mike Cannon, current zoning inspector, Harlem Township, 13232 Center Village Road. I just want to take the opportunity to bring up a chronological overview of everything that's happened over the amount of time since the violation was noted. October 17th, 2022, there was a violation letter that was first issued by the former zoning officer, Matt Kurz, instructing Mr. Derek Neff to cease all commercial activity on the property until proper zoning was obtained. Matt left then. I came in end of January in 2023. Matt did talk to me briefly about the property. Between the two of us, kind of got our wires crossed. I thought it was just a noise violation. So I went out there and talked to him, then came back. February 10th, my office received formal complaints from the neighbors regarding increased noise and truck traffic due to the dump truck business operating on the site. On March 22nd, 2023, a formal violation notice was sent to Mr. Neff. Within the time frame of about a week or two, I had a conversation with Mr. Neff and two other interested parties. I don't remember who they were. I clearly outlined their options as Joe talked about, either apply for a zoning change, seek a variance through the Board of Zoning Appeals, go for a PCD. There was many options they could have done. That's not up to me to choose. That's up to them. April 3rd, 2023, a follow-up letter was issued giving Mr. Neff 14 days to inform the zoning office of his plan to resolve the violation. No communication was received within that period. And that was given because I hadn't heard anything. My impression was something was going to be done to address the situation. April 20th, 2023, the matter was escalated to Delaware County Prosecutor Corey, the assistant prosecuting attorney, issued a formal letter on behalf of the township. Then from May through July of 2023, Corey made repeated attempts to engage Mr. Neff's attorney at that time, but communication was sporadic and unproductive. August through September of 2023, after persistent delays, Mr. Neff's attorney informed Corey, a prosecuting attorney, on August 7th of a plan to bring the property into compliance, and he never received that plan. October of 2023, Mr. Neff's attorney claimed the business was now in compliance and follow-up was necessary and compliance could not be substantiated. So what happened was he called and talked to Corey and said, hey, property's good to go. There's no problems out there. I went out there a few times. There's times you can see back there and times you can't. So I couldn't really ascertain, but in talking with the neighbors, I found out that nothing had stopped. February of 2024, due to the continued non-responsiveness from Mr. Neff's legal counsel, the Harlem Township trustees authorized the prosecuting office to pursue legal action. In May of 2024, Mr. Neff stated as a previous attorney was no longer representing him and that he had retained new legal counsel to file for a zoning change. From July through September of 2024, Mr. Neff indicated an interest in filing for rezoning through the Zoning Commission. Despite this, no application was submitted. Corey attempted further contact before proceeding with civil action. On October 3rd of 2024, a meeting was held between the new attorney, Mr. Neff, and myself. It was a phone conversation. We again reviewed the township's position and available options. Mr. Neff committed to preparing plans, and we gave him some grace at that time since he had a new attorney. November 2024 through February 2025, no action was taken by Mr. Neff or his attorney to move forward. Corey and I again contacted them to request a resolution plan. In March 2025, Mr. Neff withdrew. He had actually put in a real very quick PCD plan to our zoning commission. And then he withdrew that.
What's a PCD?
Planned commercial district, a plan to change
Thank you.
to go for new rezoning. Mr. Neff withdrew his PCD application and hired a use planning firm, Plan for Land, to develop a new proposal. A cease and desist order was issued on April 25th, 2025. In May of 2025, Mr. Neff and his team appeared before the BZA to request administrative appeal based on a claimed non-conforming use. Corey confirmed that no official stay was granted on the cease and desist order at this time. And then June through July of 2025, Mr. Neff continues to pursue a non-conforming use agreement through the BZA. The hearing for this appeal is scheduled for tonight. Some additional observations. The prosecutorial oversight. Corey, the assistant prosecuting attorneys, has remained engaged throughout this process. He's made multiple attempts to work with both the current and former attorneys representing Mr. Neff with limited cooperation until recently. The prolonged time frame and a grace period, the township has demonstrated exceptional patience through the 21-month as a minimum. It's been since, I think, March of 2023. But through that period, multiple opportunities have been extended to Mr. Neff to abate the violation or pursue proper zoning channels. The impact on the neighbors, which I don't think we can understate. The residents living near the subject property have endured prolonged noise, heavy vehicle traffic, and disruption to the peace and quiet of their residential neighborhood, often during early morning and late evening. The case represents a clear and extended violation of Harlan Township zoning regulations. The township has acted in good faith, extending multiple opportunities over the course of nearly 2 years for Mr. Neff to bring his property into compliance. Despite numerous commitments, there's been little follow through. The impact on neighboring residents has been significant and ongoing. The cease and disorder remains in effect, and the only reason it's not been enforced is out of deference to this hearing today. I urge the board to consider the documented pattern of delay and disruptions as you evaluate the requests before you. But I also think it's appropriate right now if I could bring up Mr. Shaw. You're the one's going to come up and speak because he can speak on, I guess we're talking about non-conforming use now here today too. And, he is a very close neighbor.
So you're inviting him to
I'm
come up as a
inviting him to come up
witness?
and speak just a little bit about his experience.
Mr. Shaw. Go ahead and state your name and your address.
Dan Shaw, 4550 Miller Paul Road, Westerville.
Dan, could you raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you.
So as far as the non-conforming use, talking to the neighbors, people have lived, I live at 4550, neighbor at 4500, was at the April meeting that we talked about. Said non-conforming use. We brought up an address at 12030 Center Village Road. That used to be his mom used to run a hair salon there. So as far as a business goes, that was a hair salon. Gentleman that I mentioned at that address before had stated at the April meeting that the property prior to Mr. Neff purchasing it had been a worm farm. So when you're talking about 1,000-pound dump trucks, there's quite a bit of difference as far as non-conforming use from that standpoint. So when you're talking about non-conforming use, the other thing we've talked about is the satellite images, the back of the property that was weeds, etc. Things have been brought in. Gentleman had talked about at that April meeting, there'd been a wetlands back there. So now there's been stuff dumped back there. Mr. Gambrat talked about that he had a bridge back there to go across the creek. So there's been stuff dumped now, basically, that may have impacted that wetlands. I know at my property, 4550, 4405 Miller Paul Road, and 4580, my other neighbor, our yards do not drain the same that they have in the last 3 years. They're wet. So all that tile runs from our back properties and is supposed to meet up with that creek back there. So something's changed in the last period. So as far as non-conforming, if you would like to, any other I'm just supposed to talk about non-conforming. I did some research also as far as the property on Center Village. You look at the website, the county website, talks about a property on Peter Hoover down by New Albany, but that's also his property. So I drove down by that property, and Mr. Neff has talked about being a good neighbor. I talked for the neighbors down there. At one point in time, that property's in Plain Township. There were 12 dump trucks on that property. Plain Township's rules said 1. So he talks about being a good neighbor, wanting to be a good neighbor. The neighbors all there said, we wish they would move. Okay. So I can go into further detail at that, but that's not what this is as far as the non-conforming.
Correct. Thank you.
Any questions?
Mike, is that,
Yeah, I thought you could speak a little bit about, the noise that you had issues with.
Yeah, my wife, I recently retired in May. My wife has stayed home. She has heard the dump trucks. She and another neighbor are the ones that had the complaints, filed the complaints throughout the day. You can hear the dump trucks banging. You've heard the banging of the noise, the backup beepers. We like to sleep with our windows open as much as possible if we can. It's not too hot. And I can't tell you how many times we've heard backup beepers before 6 a.m. and well after 6 p.m. In the application that was submitted in April, I went through that. It talked about also agricultural use. I've not seen an ag truck there at all. It's all been dump trucks. Neighbor at 4405 Miller Paul Road gets up at 4 a.m. and I was talking to him. He said 4 o'clock in the morning, he's heard dump trucks there as well. Okay. So as far as the noise goes, I recently retired May 15th, so I've been outside more. I've heard the dump trucks during the day, and that was during when the cease and desist order was going to. Anything else? Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I just think, one of the things we need to remember is, the neighbors have been there for years. They've been there, I don't know how long you guys have been there. Yeah, and now they're having issues. It's a residential area. There shouldn't be any kind of a commercial business running in that area, especially one that's going to make a lot of noise and have a lot of issues like that. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Mike.
Good opportunity to maybe address some of that.
Yeah, I believe so.
What's that?
yes,
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I heard Lisa. I didn't know what that.
Yeah.
I may ask my client to come forward and just offer a little clarification on a few things.
Sure. State your name, your address,
7276 Walnut Street.
and you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Thank you.
The property in New Albany, is that yours?
Yes.
Okay. And could you explain a little of the activity in New Albany and relationship to this property?
time out.
Yeah.
I guess you can talk about that. I think that's irrelevant to the point of tonight's discussion.
Okay.
All right. And it's certainly not going to sway our thinking as to what's happening in New Albany. What we care about is what's happening in Harlem Township. So let's stick with Harlem Township.
Can you talk about the hours of operation of your business?
I mean, it's usually, 6:30. Trucks are not there going in and out of there at all during the day. So I'm not too sure where there's a lot of growth and the area. And I think that, with a combination of a couple other things I'm not going to get into, I think we get a blunt of the blame because the back roads from the quarries to Intel and Amazon is down Center Village Road. If you go down Center Village and you sit there, there's trucks going down there all the time. They're not mine. There's trucks going down Miller Paul. They're not mine. Not all of them, maybe one here or there. No trucks go out in and out of there at night. So, and I've made that, no trucks go in and out of there at night. So, I mean, they leave in the morning, come back in the evening. They're very, very little. I mean, as far as use of the property, I mean, it's nothing's being sold there. Nothing's being dumped there to be resold.
Can you clarify the dumping that did occur on site?
Yeah, that was all for addition the original parking lots and gravel area.
And were you ever told that as when you brought the property, can you describe the contents of the property? There was a discussion of the aerial. The reason why I'm bringing this up is the nature of the property was majorly overgrown.
Yeah, it was
photography
insanely overgrown.
Could you describe that?
Yeah, it was just overgrown. We had to go in and clear it out. There was existing gravel there But we just topped it over. In the front there was. The only way that I could access the property was because Alan always accessed it from his side. There was roads on both sides, or one in the back, one in the front. So that's why, we just expanded, to the back there because, I was under the impression that, having things up front, would, be kind of an eyesore. So I kind of kept them, in the back where, it is, screened. So, there's mounding back there and screening.
You had expressed to me upon hiring me too that the out of sight, out of mind was more of the township's stance on
Yeah.
trying to limit complaints, correct?
Yes.
And your way of doing that was to push parking toward the rear of the property.
Yes.
I'm outlining a series of unfortunate events. I'm not saying it's right. What I'm saying is things occurred over time, and I don't want the decisions to change the property to demean the fact that a non-conforming use existed on this property, and there may be some rights that are granted to Derek.
I'm not going to get into it, but there's a lot of noise around my property that I think I get a blunt of the blame for. So, it doesn't make sense that to hear, banging of the tailgates all hours of the night and stuff because they're not dumping anything. Nothing's being dumped there, and the trucks should not be there at night moving around and stuff. So I don't really understand that. I do understand, that, there's noise at night, but I don't think it's from us. So
If it was determined that there's non-conforming use of the property, would you want the opportunity to have some use of this property continued for business purpose, even if it wasn't your trucking company? You made an investment in the property.
Yes. Yeah, I never in a million years thought I would be, that concrete, that I had a 3-bay loading dock with 10-inch concrete. You're not doing a warm farm there, not doing hairdressing there. That has 220 electric all the way around it, 6x6 posts, insulated garage doors. I mean, it's a very industrial building. I mean, it is very, you're not buying that property and putting a Honda Odyssey in there. It is very, very well built. Alan did a very good job when he built the place. And I would have never, you pulled up, it's got 3-bay loading dock. So I would have never thought we would be here, discussing use of the property because it's got 10-inch concrete floors. I mean, it's, and it had, from a series of events, from changing lawyers and stuff, it has drawn out. And I expressed to Corey, I'm not trying to push this. My previous, attorney wanted to do the PCD and stuff, but then when I got hooked up with Joe, we changed plans. That's why it's been kind of delayed. I expressed to Corey when I talked to him on the phone, I'm not trying to delay anything, and all of the discussion that the first attorney had, it wasn't coming from me. The discussion I was having with the attorney, oh, everything's fine. Everything's fine. I talked to Corey, everything's fine. So why would I, and then that guy ended up disappearing. That's a whole nother.
Could I ask, were you ever told that there was a grandfathered use of this property for business use
By
anybody? Realtor, I guess not realtor, but Alan or
no,
prior owners?
not.
So, as far as you're purchasing the property, though, you realize there was a business activity there prior.
Absolutely.
So you weren't familiar with the term non-conforming use at the time you purchased it or through the violation?
I never even heard of it until I talked to you.
Okay. I'm trying to say that we're not approving a trucking business with understanding of some of the points of why we're asking for a cease and desist to be reconsidered. But I would argue that the taking of the property value there's an argument that to be said that if you made a decision to not continue the non-conforming use or provide the opportunity for that non-conforming use to be continued, the spirit and intent was grandfathered use was to continue. There was just never a rationale that we would rein in the use to make sure that it's less intense. So my argument would be I'd like to be in front of you at some point with a site plan that shows a less intense use than was there before and with the controls that could be put in place to ensure that. That's the nature of why.
And like with what Alan testified to, he used the west side door. But once I bought the property, I had to put a drive in, which that was all, it was grown over, but it was all, he had stone and everything there. I just added to it. And then that's why everything shifted to the other side. So that's why you can see it, because I don't own, Allen's access, where he was accessing it from the west side. So everything shifted to the east side of the property, because that's where my driveway is. And he had it actually, I think he was going to put a drive there. He never did, but I can't keep everything on the west side. I don't own it, so the only access to the property, when you look back there, yeah, it's gravel, but it's the only access to the property. It isn't.
If somebody had told you to go in front of the BZA to get a plan approved for that at the time, would you have?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I guess the nature of, again, going back to the 4 points that we've indicated, 3 of those points allow me to file an application under 24. I don't have the term in front of me, but the substitution of a non-conforming use. The 4th point, if not granted, would argue that you could still deny the appeal, but provide us an opportunity under the 3 points. If you uphold those, that we could come back in front of you. I just don't have standing to file that application if the township's position is there's no prior non-conforming use of this property. So what I'm encouraging you is to think about the long-term use of this property and the past use of this property in relationship to your comments. And I say your comments as the board in 1990. The minutes of the meeting that were presented to us, and I assume to you as well, indicate that non-conforming uses are intended to go away in the future. They're intended to diminish to the point where they would eventually go away. But that doesn't mean that with the change in ownership of the property that they would go away. So properties have changed. The multifamily across the road, those continue despite ownership changes. There's a business across the road that's under a similar situation. It was approved as an excavation business, as a legal non-conforming use as an excavation business. We understand there's continued business activity there. We're asking you to set a precedent for the township that provides for a fair and equitable outcome for non-conforming uses, not to allow commercial use of the property, but to allow limited non-conforming use of this property. That's what we're really asking. So the point in the 4 points I have is to provide standing for that application to be submitted to you. And if you made a decision on 3 of those and did agree that it's more intense, we're not arguing that that might not be the outcome tonight. I had to present that as part of the discussion. That 4th one is that we feel that what he's done to the property isn't a jeopardy. But if you feel that we need to come back to you to ask for a substitution of use where you could put proper limitations in place, he's even indicated to me he's willing to do that by hiring me to prepare a site plan. So we're asking for you to consider that in your motion tonight.
We have a couple of questions. So could you just summarize the nature of the business you operate out of the property? The trucking business?
Well, as far as the building goes, I have a lot of just personal stuff, tractors, my brother's cars in there.
I'm talking about the business you run.
Oh, the business I run, just dump trucks, my personal dump trucks. We just haul material, dirt, gravel, stone. We do agricultural, hauling as well, like beans, and we don't do a lot around here, but we do a lot like down towards like Lancaster and so on and so forth.
Could you describe a day in life?
It's pretty much 6, 7 o'clock. They're coming and are going, and then 5 or 6 o'clock they come back, park. More so, just parking. Then nothing's being sold off the property. There's no sales. There's nobody coming. Other than me or, family or somebody, there's nobody coming and going during the day for sales or goods or, delivering anything or, anything of that nature. So.
How many trucks do you run out of there?
It all kind of varies. A lot of the trucks that, were being parked back there were my personal trucks that, were not running. But I would say on any given day, maybe 5, 6, something like that.
What time do the trucks leave your property and then what time do they come back?
Well, typically around like 6 or 7 is when they would leave and then come back. I would say anywhere from probably anywhere from 4 to 7, maybe.
And then nothing goes in or out between 7.
There might be an
PM,
occasion that nothing at night. there shouldn't be anything, any operation going, other than me coming on the property. But
And
as
then
far
when
as
you
the,
come on the property, are you driving a dump truck?
no, my,
Okay.
my pickup truck. But at night, there shouldn't be anything. I mean, there might be an occasion where, something will happen like early, we might get out of there at, 5:30 or something in the morning, but, that's not every day by any means.
Let me just ask him to express, so in line with the comments that you might be considering yourself above the law, like if there was a law to meet, would you be compliant with the law that
Yeah.
other than don't do business activity there?
What do you mean?
Meaning like right now your order by the
Mhm.
township, no commercial activity.
Mhm.
If there were limitations put on that based on the prior non-conforming use of the property.
Yeah, I'm not going to break the law by any means. So.
Thank you.
Have you guys concluded? Yep. Okay. All right. I think we'll have some discussion amongst the board up here.
Thank you.
I would like to call Alan Garrett back. Like to ask him a couple questions.
Okay.
Garrett Brandt, could you come back up?
They're asking you to come back up. Could speak loudly. I think
Yeah,
you're under
your voice
so
is
yeah, much lower. Thank you.
In Article 24 of our resolution, continuance of a non-conforming use, it says if any non-conforming use is voluntarily discontinued for 2 years or more, does he have proof that he's used that in the last 2 years before he sold that?
That's what he's saying.
Yeah, so he's asking you if you have continued proof of other than your word and your sworn testimony, if you have any proof. I know you had mentioned yellow page ads, other things. Is there anything?
I mean, bills.
I was in
Bills of
several.
sale of where he sold merchandise or materials he ordered, or, I mean, being out here that I have never seen no activity there for the last 6-8 years probably. At all.
I
So,
will
mean,
say-
you
I
know,
will say, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But like the trustees of this earlier committees, okay, they told me what to do, how to do it, and I did it. Because well, they all knew what I was doing technically, okay, because like I said, I was in the zoning, they knew my activities. So it's not like it was any surprise or suspicion or anything, because I was always involved. But then also there's like I've had several trucks. I mean, basically, it was a moving hardware store. I could buy 10 of items of one thing, and I would be able to not go home, go back, reload, or go out and buy something because I would buy it in quantities. It took me 3 to 4 months to even move out of the place. I had equipment,
Do you still have equipment in the property?
yes. Matter of fact, I still got one piece I said I didn't want to put it out in the weather. Okay, so it's a vertical piece and it's 10 foot long and it's 6 foot. And see, I did things like the reason why people probably didn't notice buildings going out, because a lot of times I back my trailer in there. I built the wall sections. And then also I would take the backhoe, beat it on the trailer, pick up the wall section, put it on each side, and then go down and take it to the site or to whoever's buying the sections from me, drop them off with the backhoe. Because I didn't have people try to lift and put stuff on trailers, okay? So I did that, and matter of fact, the one that was scariest, I being in Clintonville, I did a building. It was so big, I couldn't make the second story 8 foot high, because then if somebody could move it and make a residence out of it, I had to meet all code, okay? And so I dealt with Columbus, okay? I've had licenses in Delaware, 3 mechanical licenses. I had licenses in Columbus. I even had one I had a letter, it had 35 years, not one customer ever complained. I had someplace I've got it, but it's neither here nor there. It's my word. Okay, my word. Okay, but
We understand.
you don't expect it to leave that.
So
At
I-
this point, I never had trouble with people.
So I think what Keith was trying to establish is I think what he was asking is that if you had continually used that property for business the whole time you
Constantly.
owned it, the whole time, there wasn't any gap. Did you
No.
shut your business down at any time or
Oh, what?
did you shut your business down at any time before you sold the property? Okay.
You mean, did I
think-
stop working?
I think he's testified that he's still working, that.
I understand it's still working, but I'm asking that the property
Correct.
was still.
You just say,
So you were still using this property till the day you sold it, correct?
yes.
And maybe beyond? Because I
I think
think
that was a question.
if you heard
I mean,
the,
you
if you heard the testimony as well, it took him some time after the sale to move out. So he continued to occupy the property. I would argue the top surface, Genoa Township versus top surface case, there was arguments about storage being used as a continuation of a non-conforming use, especially in a transition from business to business. And that's never ceased from anything that I've heard in testimony from my client or from Mr. Garabrandt. So
Okay.
I just wanted
Keith,
to offer that.
Keith,
So that, we're fine there. The next question is for you.
Sure.
And, in section 2403 of an enlargement or continuation of a non-conforming use, it should be of a less objectionable nature. So we can substitute a less objectionable nature and non-conforming use, but this doesn't seem to be less objectionable according to the neighbors. So that's another reason I would say that, you know, that I could see why a violation was issued, because obviously dump trucks is going in and out is not working in the building inside of the shop. So that's the two big things that I think my concern is of the whole thing is, you know,
Well, I can answer that.
did it ever quit for 2 years, and is this of a less objectionable nature? And I don't think it is. So
I would argue we haven't had that forum, and I regret that. The opportunity that I'm trying to seek is an opportunity to get in front of you to understand what limitations might occur and whether a trucking business is even a less intensive use. But we don't have an opportunity to seek that with the statute that there's the arguments that have been made by the township. So we've been directed toward a rezoning. And I say we with the prior nature of, I've only been involved here this year, but I understand that the nature of the last 4 or 5 years is that this has not been explored. And if it was explored, I feel like that opportunity, there's a taking of value from what Mr. Neff's investment's been. If he isn't given the opportunity to try to continue the non-conforming use. And we could make that application, but I'm not arguing what he's done in the past.
I understand you're saying, but because his lack of not applying doesn't make it our problem, you know, and
He doesn't
it
have
makes
standing
it makes
to
a township
apply.
problem that he has never applied for that.
He
Given
was-
the opportunity, he was told that you know, he should.
He was told that the non-conforming use discontinued. He did not have that right to apply. What I'm asking you to consider is that I think he did have that right to apply, and he should have been able to apply 4 or 5 years ago when he purchased the property, or before even purchasing the property, should have been given the opportunity to seek that application. And I'm not trying to, what was that? Yeah, we were told the only avenue was PCD, so that's the path that it's been on. And the hesitation has been that it's not in conformance with the comprehensive plan. So the hesitation and the delays have been because we don't want to go down that path. The neighbors don't want us to go down that path. It shouldn't be zone commercial. And the best scenario is that the non-conforming use of the property have some limitations placed by this board. And that's what we're asking for, is the opportunity to come back to you with an application.
Okay.
Mike, do you have a comment or a rebuttal to that?
I do have a comment or rebuttal to that. And I don't know who was telling you that the only opportunity you had was a PCD. You were told to go to the zoning commission to give a rezoning, if you would. I talked about the fact that you could totally rezone, try to get a industrial, commercial, whatever you wanted to do. It's not up to me to choose what you guys said you needed to do. So I didn't tell you go do a PCD. Now, if we were talking and you asked me about a PCD, I may have told you other people are pursuing PCD.
We had a meeting. Me, my nephew just walked out, and my previous lawyer. He said, what can we do? And he said, really, the only avenue is to do the PCD. That's why we went down that avenue. No non-conforming was ever addressed. That's what the lawyer was told.
Yeah, the non-conforming use was just brought with him. I
Yeah,
would, I would
but-
not have
but
brought
that's
that
what
up.
we was directed, was to do the PCD. He said, literally quote, when we went in there, what can we do to fix this? He said, and you said, the only thing that you could do is the non-conforming, it was the PCD.
I don't know if it's the only thing you could do or your best bet.
No, and.
You know, okay, well, I'm not gonna
Okay.
argue about it.
Mike, would you outline,
That's good.
would you outline again for me what, depending on what the outcome is tonight, what their options are going forward? If the, if they are not allowed to go back into business at this point in time, what are their options going forward?
Are you asking me for that?
Yes, you said there were like three different
Well,
possible.
they have options to go. They've got two avenues to go to when I say they can't do something. One's the zoning commission, the other one's the BZA.
And if they came to the zoning commission, just to make it clear, what would they be coming here for?
Whatever they decide they want to push.
A variance?
That's not up to me to tell them.
No, I understand. I'm just trying to understand what the range of
Variance would
options-
be through you guys,
Right,
but through the zoning commission, really, the
Would
only
be-
thing they have is a rezone.
okay.
Whether they want to go through for a straight rezoning, a planned district, whatever.
So those
whatever
two
they choose.
options, regardless of tonight's outcome, are not off the table for them. Right?
That's up to you guys.
Well, they can present a plan to us.
Yes, they can.
They can come forward with an application.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Let me speak up. So Corey from the prosecutor's office, let me try to give some legal insight if the board is willing to entertain that.
Corey, do you mind stepping up to the podium for me?
I would love to do that.
Thank you.
Corey, you want to swear you in?
I don't need to be sworn in. I'm just giving legal advice. You can swear me in. That's fine.
Yeah, I'd like to. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Despite being a lawyer, I do.
Thank you.
Sorry. So this question is coming up about the previous use of the property, as well as my involvement in giving legal advice. And I think the confusion is some of the timing that's involved with this. So the previous use of the property and what was being used on the property, I think came up when the application for administrative appeal was submitted on May 19th. That was the first that information was presented. And at that point, the application was in front of the board for consideration, which is why I think the conversation at that point ceased, which is what gave rise to this hearing. So whether there was previous use of the property and what that use was for, at that point, if the property was sold to another or subsequent owner, if there was previous grandfathered in non-conforming use on that property, the new owner would have the ability to continue that use if it has not been discontinued for 2 years.
Right.
I think some of those questions have come up here. I think the confusion is that issue wasn't presented by the applicant until May 19th when it was submitted as part of this appeal and then presented to this board. So unless Mike has a different opinion, I don't believe it was something for him to discuss with the applicant until it was already presented in this application. And then it was in the hands of this board and this hearing was started. And the applicant can discuss that as well if you want. But that issue, which has now been discussed today, was not presented until this appeal was filed. So we're kind of talking about different things a little bit in terms of the timing, but the timing is important. So I think for purposes of this appeal, and it sounds like this is what the applicant is asking for, is they presented some evidence tonight through testimony of previous use. The question is, do they have any of those rights outstanding? And if they do, what are those previous use rights based on what the previous owner used and the timing of that use? Was that discontinued for 2 years? And if it wasn't discontinued for 2 years, what was it? What was it, the same thing that's being used, that the property is being used now, or is it something different? And I think that's what the applicant is looking for, is that direction. I know it's kind of weird because they're asking the board for that direction by presenting their own evidence, but I think that's kind of the stage of where we are at right now. And I think a lot of that, the timing concerns, the fact that there's been multiple attorneys when this was submitted versus when the zoning inspector had input, I think that's what might be causing some of this confusion. Does that clarify any of these issues at this point?
Yeah, a little
Could I
bit.
clarify and ask that question? So I think you and I exchanged email addresses.
We did.
And part of the discussion was I had a meeting with the zoning inspector we had a difference of opinion. I understood I only had 20 days to appeal the decision that was leading to the nature of why we got the violation. The violation was issued because of these 4 points. And I disagreed with all 4 points. So that's the nature of why the application was filed, but it was only brought forward, but 20 days after or within 20 days of the question being posed and the decision being made by the zoning office that non-conforming use did not transfer with ownership, or I would have just brought you an application for 2403 and we would be sitting here talking about that. But I didn't want to give up the opportunity to appeal that because if the township stance is that it doesn't transfer with ownership and there wasn't a prior non-conforming use, I think my client has a legal right to ask you for that to be reconsidered.
But as far as the timing of that, the information that the applicant presented from the previous owner about that previous use was not given to the township until it was presented in your appeal, which then gave it to this board for their decision.
It wasn't presented to the zoning office until I met with the zoning inspector and explained that there was a prior non-conforming use, a grandfathering of the use. But as I indicated, I could have continued that discussion. I just didn't want to lose the opportunity for appeal, and it did not feel fair and impartial. I feel like that's why I came to you, and there was a lot of hostility when we filed the application. I'm not trying to make enemies of anybody in this. I just want to make sure that we have an opportunity to vet that issue now. And I did not feel like that was going to get settled outside of Board of Zoning Appeals.
And the purpose of my coming up here was to try to highlight from a legal perspective, the timing of the events, why the board is hearing what the board is hearing as far as the timing of that, as well as the arguments and when they were presented, because I think there appeared to be some disconnect there that I think made sense to clarify that.
Thank you.
Any questions on this end of the table? I guess I'll just give my thoughts here at this point. A lot of time runs by, and I don't think that, as you said, Joe, doesn't help. But I think that this is that I support Mike's findings. Let me put it that way. Kind of right down the line. I believe that whether you want to call it existing use, I don't believe that the previous owner operated multiple dump trucks on his property. So if you're trying to equate existing use of multiple dump trucks running in and out to the previous owner's wood shop work inside a closed building with very small amount of traffic, I don't think that's equivalent. Now, that may not be up to me to determine. You may have to take that further to challenge that equivalency discussion. And you've got a vehicle, I guess, to do that. But you also have a vehicle to come back to us, as Mike said. And you also have a vehicle to go to the zoning commission, as was stated. Well, and so you're at this point in time, my view is I support the long trail of communication done by two different zoning inspectors. And yeah, I understand people's jobs changed and lawyers come and go, but it's the person who's the most interested is I guess the current owner of the property to expedite that kind of stuff. So, so I'm prepared to make a motion if you're prepared for me to do so, Mr. Chairman.
You have any? I have written something down here too, if you want to take a look at it, what you think.
Mr. Chairman.
You're free to make any motion. You so choose.
Well, Keith usually, I can read his print. Would you like to make your motion? I will.
Sure. This time I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion on BZA Appeal 25-01 to uphold the zoning inspector's decision of the zoning violation of the Harlan Township zoning resolution. The Neffs are running a commercial business in a residential district. The stay that was issued on June 16th is hereby lifted, and the cease and disorder issue can be enforced.
I second that. Any discussion?
Roll call vote, please.
Kyle Ferris,
Aye.
Steve Eisenbrown,
Aye.
Keith Campbell,
Aye.
Bill Gallagher,
Aye.
Amy Richardson.
Aye.
Okay, so the motion's passed to uphold the zoning inspector cease and desist. For the record, on the last meeting in June, we had a motion to put a stay on that cease and desist order from June 16th through July 21st, 2025, which is today, to see the outcome of this. So as I mentioned in that motion, that previous stay has been lifted. So
This is Corey again from the prosecutor's office. Is the applicant asking for clarity about whether there is any finding of any previous use on the property to decide how they would want to take action going forward?
Yes.
So I think the request is if the board can make some sort of finding, whether there is any previous use on the property based on the testimony or evidence today, if the board would be willing to give any sort of insight on that and a motion so that the applicants know how they would be able to proceed going forward and what avenues they would have. Just some sort of direction. And you can speak up, I'm not trying to speak on your behalf, but based on what has been presented today, I think that clarity is what was asked at the beginning.
Well, I shook my head on the variance. We can't seek a use variance, so we have to seek it under 2403. It sounds like the board's not giving us the option to seek that. What Corey's indicating, is that an option to seek approval under 2403?
So my read on this ruling, and I'm not speaking for the rest of the board here, but my read on this ruling, it was just the fact that the cease and desist order has been upheld. Right, so the current operations at the property would need to stop. If you're asking about future use of this property, then I think we want to, if it came to us, we want to hear that in another hearing so we could make a determination on the non-conforming use of the property. So then we would hear that. I would believe in a separate hearing to see if you guys established that there has been prior use, which you probably have I'm not sure how, I can't speak for the board. Or so you may establish there's prior use in the property that could be grandfathered in and go forward. So that would be the ask, I think, would be the next question.
So that was the grounds of the appeal. Are we making the same arguments in that next hearing?
So I think what we find here is the nature of the business now is more objectionable than the business that was there prior.
So point four, my point four, you're indicating that, which is fine, but the other 3 points, I think you heard your legal counsel tonight tell you that use does or the rights do transfer with ownership. Testimony on items 1 and 3 as well, which would give us grounds to come back in for a 2403 variance and ask for a substitution of a non-conforming use. I just want to make sure that we have standing to do that. I don't want that getting thrown out after they go to the expense of preparing a site plan and an application for that to be thrown out.
I can't really give that information.
help.
We have no application. Like if you present an application, we will accept an application and judge the application on its merits. I can't give you that answer.
So
I can't direct you to do.
So
what
I
to
think
do.
there's an obligation like the board did in 1988 to monitor non-conforming uses. I'm asking if you've not been monitoring non-conforming uses and specifically this property, what is our hurdle to proving the continued use of the property? Do you need business records? Would you be subpoenaing business records for activities up to the date of application?
Well, just to correct the statement a little bit, we are monitoring non-conforming uses. It's part of what gets done around here all the time, and working to bring things into control to the benefit of the community. So this one has a long history of what I think Mr. Garabrandt would say is indoor light experimental manufacturing would be how I'd describe what you described. And doing some research and development, but all contained within the four walls. There might be some box trucks going, but you are not running a dump truck business. And that is what's causing the upset with the neighbors sitting in the middle of a residential AR1 piece of property. And so I would say it's a problem. I'll just stop there.
And I'm sorry, and this is Corey again, that statement that was given right there, I think is what the applicant might be looking for by way of motion. If the board would make a determination of either that nature or a similar nature, just so that they have that direction then on what avenues they can proceed. Is that what you're asking for?
Thank you. Yes.
Give us a second. I want to write something up here.
Okay.
Just for information, that list from 1988, all the non-conforming properties, majority of those no longer exist.
I disagree. After looking at the list, I've seen a lot of clients on that list, and I think you have a few of those that are open violations today. And I would just encourage you to think about, you don't want to be dealing with those 10 years from now.
That list was made up by the zoning commission and previous zoning inspectors and trustees. In 1988, when the zoning was thrown out by the courts and reestablished new zoning, when they brought the new zoning in, they made up that list of what non-conforming uses were in the township at the time. I say a lot of those the people deceased or the people sold the properties and went on to something else. And so I don't know that list, as long as it looks, is I'm sure it's not that long today.
In the intent is for it to diminish. So I would agree with you there. I do see a lot of those on the list.
Non-conforming is the goal is to diminish it as much as you can.
Correct.
Over time,
Yep, understood.
to bring it into conforming or it goes away on its own, whichever.
Yeah, because they've already expanded the use of the ground. So. If they can't do that, then I don't think there's any other discussion. We're looking at 24.03 as to the 5 items that are listed there, to see if we can form a motion here.
And again, I'm not asking you to approve a variance like we would provide an application for
No,
that.
we're not going to approve that for
Okay.
sure. So what we're trying to see is if we can answer your question as to, through a motion, give you a window to reapproach.
Thank you.
That's what you're looking for.
Yeah, so I think we'd make these arguments in the application. Again, those 3 points that I had was if you agreed that the ownership change didn't disqualify the application and that you had this on a prior non-conforming use list. I think those are the 2 things that I'm asking for that would provide standing for an application. And we can address this in a future meeting. I just didn't want to have to bring Alan back and prior zoning inspectors. If you agree, there's been some history of non-conforming use here that would qualify.
Well, I don't disagree with the non-conforming use there, but does it qualify for the uses there today? That would be a big
Yeah,
stretch.
and that's what I'm saying. That would be a separate argument, and we may not be seeking 100% what's there before. I heard your comments about indoor use. I need to counsel with my client about that in the site plan, but I would ask for the opportunity to present that and hear neighbors' comments about if they agreed to the terms that we would be able to present. I just not prepared to make that now because we haven't been in a situation where we could make that application.
Right.
Lifting the stay, my guess is I'll try to file that with you as soon as possible so that he's not deprived of the opportunity to use the property in a legal way.
Specifically, section
Who gets to stay? Who you present the stay in? Who to? I mean, who, they go
maybe just
prosecutor's
give
office, the
24
mic, or who listens to that?
I'm not sure I understand.
You say, you want to talk about, just the cease and desist order, whatever. You want to stay on that, right? I'm saying, so that's not
I
hard.
understood you lifted
No,
it.
we
I'm just
are-
saying that we would be.
We
filing an
don't
application.
legally have the power to do that.
Yeah, no, we want to find terms under
All
which
he's
the
saying is
property could be used.
if he's allowed to make an application,
Yeah, we can take any
he'll-
application.
the urgency will be obvious.
If you allowed him one dump truck to be inside a building, that right now the order is no activity. He can't even do that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is we want to find out what terms that you would allow the use of the property. We want to come back with that. Yeah. So our argument is that you're taking 519, 21, the new statute. There's a statute that says essentially you can't take the opportunity to use property in a rightful way. And I would say, that's what we're asking is if you're telling him he can't use the property for any commercial purpose, that could be him coming and going, to service a dump truck inside, then he's rightfully being encumbered. So that's why I'm saying we'd be back in front of you as soon as possible. I'd ask you not to do that, but if you said, hey, indoor use of the building's fine in the meantime, at least he has some use of the property. You're taking away his ability to continue the nonconformity.
I don't see this board has the power to give any kind of information like that. That's such up.
So I think that's a separate issue we have to take up.
I agree.
I don't believe we're going to take it up here tonight.
Sure.
So we made a ruling on the appeal,
Understood.
right? So
I appreciate it. It's been a long night. I
No, no.
understand that. I just don't want to have to bring everybody back for these arguments. So that's why I'm
Well,
saying as much we can.
You know,
put
if it's
to bed.
important enough, they'll come.
Yep.
So,
Understood.
well,
It may be.
hey, that's,
So I'm not sure what kind of motion we're gonna put together here without putting us in too much of a spot here, but you made arguments that there was prior use of the property that was non-conforming in nature. Our ruling tonight said, hey, the use of the property that we've heard about did not extend that same usage. So the usage didn't change. So if you want to come back and make an appeal for, or excuse me, have a hearing for for non-conforming use, it would have to be in nature and with the nature of the property that was non-conforming previously.
Correct.
Right.
Understood.
So, and then the answers to that would be in the 24.03, and there's subsections under there, and there's a few of them there. Some of them are, less objectionable in nature. Some of them are 25% greater in size. So things of that nature, you might have to look at and see if
And I'm happy to do that, but I'm asking you to reverse the zoning inspector's decision that the use of the property did not transfer, the non-conforming use of the property did not transfer with the ownership. At least there's rights there, because I don't think we have standing, and I don't want to be arguing that again in a month after our clients are prepared.
I don't see this board's privilege to do that. You,
So I think that's a different question.
you have your rights. You bring an application in and we'll look at it.
The question they're asking is, does the board make a finding today that there were some non-conforming rights that were given from the previous owner to the current owner? That's the first question.
We were clearly told there were not, and you have the power of the zoning inspector. I'm just asking for that to be reconsidered. That's a part of our appeal.
I can't. But whatever you guys want to do, I won't.
Yeah, the law, like I stated earlier, the law suggests that if there is a non-conforming use of a previous owner, that the sale of the property, that same use, as long as it has not been discontinued for 2 years, does go to the new owner. It has to be that same use.
But it has to be the same use.
Correct. So an example is
So if we don't believe from the testimony that we've heard, the same use equates to dump trucks versus indoor activity, running machine tools and doing light experimental manufacturing, then the answer is no, that we.
I think you're misunderstanding.
Right, but I think what the applicant's asking is that you make a finding that, yes, the dump truck part, based on your previous ruling, is further than the previous use that should have been conferred to the owner. I think that was already done by
So
motion.
do they have a window to pursue other uses of the property? Is that the
But
question?
the question is, does the applicant have the ability to continue to use the property the way the previous owner did, which is something less than what you're saying he's using it for now? That's the guidance they're looking for. And what I believe the vice chair just said about using it indoors, based on the testimony you heard, they're looking for that guidance. If he still has the ability to use it in that way, as the law prescribes, because that's what they want to use as the avenue to seek a variance perhaps later on to expand that use. Is that?
That's 100%. Yes, thank you.
Oh, that's true. I think, I think,
As long as it's a property at 12116 Village Road, established non-conforming use prior to.
I think your decision is not pertinent to this property alone. It's the decision that's been applied to other properties as well. And that's
Well,
why it's a big.
That's irrelevant.
Well, but I'm saying the decision that the zoning inspector. Okay, all right, that's the decision that.
You're running it
As
wrong.
long as the property at 112.
Yeah.
16 Village Road.
So another
established
part,
non-conforming use prior
if
to.
this
so
fellow.
Yeah.
Current owner
What is done
BZA
for us in
we're not committing.
thing,
This application
that would be okay, because Mr.
or the property.
Yes. Okay, I think that'll fly. well.
How long it was inside operation versus.
We can put conditions on that too.
12116 Village Road.
That's the way
Established
I took it
non-conforming
from
use prior to zoning.
the prosecutor
Current owner
and from
applied
him.
to the BZA non-conforming use
Steve.
application.
Yeah. Okay, so,
got a question.
so
I should consider.
if this fellow wants to do all his work inside, then it goes along.
I had that last
for
part.
it, right?
Mhm.
Because
He knows that anyways.
Ellen used,
Hey, guys.
used
Just
the
a
inside of
reminder,
the
yes,
building.
we're in a
Public hearing, yeah,
You guys have to
Okay.
speak to where everybody can hear you.
right.
Can the
Okay.
audience please refrain from side conversations? Thank you.
So you want to make a motion?
Well,
Question?
Amy's got a question here.
The way I get from Corey is that if this new fella wants to use the inside of the building, it would be okay because Alan, the old fella, used the inside of the building, so then it would be the same. That was, so then that way it would transfer from Alan to Mr. Neff. Inside to inside. So our issue seems to be with what's happening outside. Is that it?
I think that's predominantly.
But I think what the Joe's asking for is they don't want to lose their right to use the building until they get an application to us next month, next week,
That's a
whenever.
different question, I think.
Yeah.
So the question is can he use the inside of the building?
To work on his truck.
if he's used.
Is that what you mean? For
I mean,
storage
it doesn't
trucks
matter
or
what, right, whatever he does with it. I mean, can he use the inside of the building? Would that be in line with
So
the
I think,
way Mr. Allen used the
I
building?
think we would ask them to come back and say, hey, why don't you apply for non-conforming use of this property and establish what you're gonna use it for? Yeah. So our discussion there is what's the use of property is. I think what we might look to do is have them come back and apply for a non-conforming use of the property, and then we can establish what they're gonna use that property for.
But according to our prosecutor, doesn't he already have non-conforming use of the property if he does his business inside like the previous owner did?
No.
No.
Because we don't know the nature of his business. But they came tonight and said, hey, this is a trucking business, and we said, you can't do trucking business there. So if they come back and say, we still want to do business there, they need to come to us and present what that business is actually going to be, and then we can make a determination based on what they present to us.
If
So
there,
yes and no.
if there is a previous use by the previous owner and it was non-conforming, but it was grandfathered in because it was done before the resolution, which is
Right.
what the testimony was. What the applicant is asking for is that be given to the new owner, the buyer, so Mr. Neff. The law says that as long as there is previous non-conforming use and that has been continued it wasn't discontinued for 2 years or more, that goes to the next owner. All they're asking is that on top of what the board has already decided, which is the motion was that the trucking business is well beyond any previous use. All they're asking for at this point is that there be a finding by the board that there was some form of previous use on the property by the previous owner, and that previous use can be continued to the new owner, to Mr. Neff. That's what they're asking for, and I think that's what the law would prescribe for.
Okay.
And then if they want to use the property for something more, let's say, for example, hypothetically, a trucking business, they would file a variance or a different forum to ask to expand that use to then encompass that type of activity. But they're just looking for some direction from the board to say that they have some use of the property now that fits in line with the previous owner, so that they have the ability to file that variance or that request to expand that right, as opposed to not having the right at all. That's all they're asking for at this point. I think that's compliant with law.
Okay, well, I'm
Yeah.
speaking for myself, that I would agree that they have the right within if they operate within the confines of the building, and that's not inclusive of any work on dump trucks, hauling product, starting dump trucks, stopping dump trucks, and it has to be done within the hours of 7 until 5 in the evening inside the building, we would grant that. That would be my proposal. So we would put conditions on it that we do recognize it, but we don't want, until we get further down the road here, due to the basis of the complaint from the neighbors, it all has to do with dump trucks, noise, time of day, and we need to see that solved before we're going to approve anything further. Okay? So if that meets what he's asking for, fine. But no dump trucks.
I'd ask you to keep an open mind. You heard from a couple complainants, but you did not hear from all the.
Well, that's fine. Then you know what? We're gonna put the work stoppage back in place and get your application to us.
Sure.
That takes us down a different road.
Understood.
They can do whatever they like inside of the building.
Sure.
But not dump trucks running in and out of the property. So go ahead, Corey.
Sorry,
Educate me. No, you
No.
don't.
So just for purposes of the record, is what you just stated, your paragraph there, is that your formal motion
It's
that
going
the
to
rest
be
of the
when-
board can vote on?
When we write it down.
Okay, I
Yes.
think can you just say that's your motion, then everyone can vote on it and
We're getting there.
clarify that?
Well, I'll make sure it's clear. Keep writing, partner.
Yeah. I've tweaked it 8 times now. BZA finds its property at 126.
So that's a big part of it.
So what Corey is saying is, he can continue.
Right.
We'll get together and chat.
Okay. to use the
That's-
building previously used. With the exception of no dump truck business. Of trucks coming or going onto the property. Okay, we got previously used. Okay, period.
During the hours.
What's it say? During the hour? No, I said none. No,
You can't really put hours on it, just.
oh, we just say no dump trucks on the property.
I haven't mentioned dump trucks yet.
Well, no, but this is right. Use the building as
Previously,
period.
I say comment during the hours of.
Okay, well, I don't know if you can do that or not, but that gets to the objectionable nature part of this. So,
Established hours?
I wouldn't.
no,
Okay.
just period. So that gives them a wide latitude.
They can use their building.
The
They own it.
use does not include the
These-
allowance for
they run a business out of it.
dump trucks coming and going to the property.
It is now. It is now. Yeah, I don't know how they're getting around
Well, dump trucks operating on the property.
Mhm.
If you got,
Well, here, we can do a test read before we have a motion. I'll read it.
You can hear better. Oh, okay.
Well, I can't even hear what they're saying.
I got it.
Thank you.
I gotta be careful with touching.
That's fine.
Oh, dear.
Okay, so the trial reading here is the BZA finds that the property at 12116 Center Village Road established non-conforming use prior to zoning. So that's to that point. The current owner may use the building as previously used. That's, well, okay, previous owner can use the previous used for indoor activity is what we'll add. Were used for indoor activity. The use does not include the allowance of dump trucks operating on the property. Okay,
it.
period. Not during any hour, just period, no dump trucks. So that's what we're gonna put up as a motion. Any comments? All right, should I take a shot at this?
Yep.
On the,
Yeah, I do. I just gotta
what?
get this
Go ahead.
straight. So we're saying no dump trucks, but we're saying, okay, look, you can do what the prosecutor said, use the inside of the building.
They can they can do whatever they'd like to do, similar to what was previously done. Machining work, whatever, R&D, whatever
Okay,
the previous owner did.
On that list or not?
okay,
But no dump truck.
but no dump truck.
Dump truck.
No. Okay, so I would like to make a motion on. Okay.
Oh, okay.
On the hearing of BZ Appeal 25-01. That, because we've already done the other motion, right? the BZA finds that the property at 12116 Center Village Road established not established nonconformity use prior to zoning. The current owner may use the building as previously used for indoor activity. The use does not include does not allow dump truck operation on the property. Period. Sorry for the rough reading, but that's it. We have a,
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Kyle Ferris.
Aye.
Steve Eisenbrown.
aye.
Keith Campbell.
Aye.
Bill Gallagher.
Aye.
Amy Richardson.
I,
Okay.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we close the hearing on, once again. What?
HTBGA 25,
Appeal.
Appeals 25-01.
Thank you.
I'll second.
The second, all in favor?
Aye.
50.
Right. Thank you, everyone.
The wheels turn slowly.
Well,
Yeah,
You're good.
now we're still in a meeting.
yeah, yes. I make a motion to reopen the previously recessed.
I second.
BZA
The meeting, if we could move conversations to the hallway.
or outside or.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we've re-entered our meeting.
9:51.
Correct.
Left on the agenda. I want to table it.
Oh, I don't think we're gonna do the minutes.
The only thing I think we have left today is the minutes, and I think we can table them to the next meeting.
Yep.
We have
make a
Motion.
motion to table the minutes till the next meeting.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried and motion
I
for
make
adjourn.
a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
9:52.
We got the German thing down.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Nice, good job.